And welcome back, everybody. I'm here with another video, a kind of final video to more of a specialist question here. I have here my game adapters or adapters that allow the use of the connection of a console video game controller to a PC. I gave in-depth explanations and demonstrations of what these do individually in other videos, so check those out if you're interested. And you probably are if you're watching this video, but I don't know what brings you to these videos. So these are the four devices here. This, of course, is a special one. This connects to a parallel port and is actually a hack of this Super 5 Play, but don't be deceived. This is actually a very much not a actual device that is used on a Super Nintendo, but is used to connect Super Nintendo controllers to a PC. Connects to a parallel port. This, and it could support up to, I'll just give an overview, this could support up to 4 controllers simultaneously. So 4 controllers can plug in and 4 can be used simultaneously. This supports the use of 1 controller at a time, however it can be a Saturn controller or a PS1 controller or 2. I think it works for 2. I don't have it 2. I didn't test that. And if you watched my video on this, you know what I'm talking about. Or a Dreamcast controller. And when I use the word or, I mean exclusive or. You cannot use all 3 at the same time. It's or in the exclusive sense. 1 and not the other 2. But any one. This one here allows the use of 2 simultaneous PlayStation 1 controllers and possibly 2 controllers. This one here allows the use of exactly 1 PlayStation 1 controller, maybe 2, I don't know, or N64. N64 is why I bought it. As you can see, N64, PlayStation 1 and or 2 is very commonly supported, whereas the other ones are not. And the other, this one, and these 3 that I bought, I did not make. All support USB. You can see a USB wire here. They connect to the PC with USB. This one here that I actually built connects to the PC by parallel port. Very different device. And this I built myself by hacking a existing multi-tap. So I actually got use out of the performance, which is probably the worst third-party making anything for systems. And I think they still do make things. At least they did up until I think they were making stuff into the PS1, maybe even the PS2 era. I don't know. Actually, I don't know if they still make things for systems. I thought I saw some of these cheap garbage performance things in stores. But this actually works very well as a multi-tap, or as a hacked multi-tap to allow video game console controllers to connect to a PC. It works extremely well. So don't be put off by the cheap performance label here. This thing works great, and has nothing to do with performance anymore after I got through with it, except it's a housing with some SNES female controller ports. So the big question here is it possible say here's the situation. I like, as I've explained, the Sega Saturn controller a great deal. This one, and say I have a friend who loves the Super Nintendo controller, or perhaps the Nintendo 64 controller, I don't know why, and loves that and wants to use that while I use the Saturn controller, and we both want to fight each other on, say, Street Fighter, or we want to play Turtles 4. Say I'll show Turtles 4. We want to play a 2-player game together. However, we want to use different controllers using different units here, adapters. Is it possible? And the answer is yes, and I'm going to show you. So you can actually mix and match these things, and people can use. Now again, I mentioned this before. You cannot use. Suppose your friend wants to use a PS1 controller, and you want to use Saturn. You can't hook the PS1 controller here. You'd have to hook it to this or this. You can only connect 1 controller at a time to this. So I'm going to use this for the Saturn because I don't have any other. I don't have any other ability to use Saturn, and I'm going to connect a Super Nintendo controller up, but we're going to play Turtles 4. So I'll give you an example of one thing that works, one scenario. So I'm going to unravel the controllers. Just give me a moment. I'll put the camera down. I'm going to connect the controllers. I showed you that in the other videos. You're not missing much by seeing me connect the controllers here, so don't worry about that. Okay, so now I have the Saturn controller connected and the Super Nintendo controller connected. And now I'm going to go to my PC, which again is running Windows XP. I'm going to go to the control panel to show you the controller is connected. I'm going to be brief here, I'm not going to be too long. We have here this 4-axis 16-bit joystick. This is the corresponds to the Saturn controller here. See me moving it around. And this here corresponds to the Super Nintendo controller, which I'm going to move around next. It's actually this one. And you can see my other video where I explain to you exactly more of what's going on with it. And you can see it's moving around here. I got the buttons moving, and the buttons are lighting up. So they work. Now I'm going to go to an emulator. I'll go to SNES, and I'll load a 2-player game. Let me zoom out a bit here. I zoomed in too much. I'm going to load Turtles in Time, which is one of my favorite games, not only for the system but of all time. I really love that game. It's extremely good. Possibly, it's one of the best beat-em-ups ever made, if not the best. And a really fun game. And very deep fighting system for a beat-em-up. So, and great graphics, sound. The 3D version looks... I saw some screenshots. That 3D version looked pretty bad. I mean, the animation doesn't seem good. The sound, I mean, I saw the pizza monsters looking tiny. It just looked pretty bad. Didn't have that cartoon style to it, which I really love. So now I have to just configure the Player 2 controller. I'm going to put the Saturn controller on there. I'm not going to go through all the motions with showing you in any long way here how I set this up. I'm just going to be kind of fast here because I already showed a lot of other videos that show. I'm going to set start to start, obviously. I'll set select to Z, which is because there's no select button on a Saturn controller. And I gotta be careful when setting these ones. And I just dropped my Saturn controller, which is not good. Let me pick it up, and I probably pushed the wrong button. B. X. The first player Super Nintendo controller is already configured for the controller connected in port labeled 2 on the hacked multi-tap. So that means I don't have to configure that in the SNES. Let me wait till this camera focuses, and now I'll load Turtles. I think I already did load it. I could have just pushed escape, yeah. But oh well, I loaded it again. Doesn't take long to load. So, push start on controller 2 here. And I can't push start, I guess only the first player can. Let's see why that's not working. Whoa. Should work. Maybe it's not configured as I thought. I don't know what happened here. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's configured properly here. I don't know what happened. Sometimes I think when you disconnect and connect more controllers, you may have to reset because the buttons get changed around in Windows the way it maps them. So you may have to remap them every time. So maybe better to leave these things connected at all times and not reconnect too many, otherwise you have to reset up your controllers every time. I'm not sure if that's true though. That's just a guess I have right now. Anyway, that's why it wasn't working. Alright, so now it will work. I did have to set up that other controller. Alright. Push start on the Super Nintendo controller. Oh, it seems like I inverted start and select there. I'll pick Raph. And then Mike is on second controller. So here now I'll go to the second controller. You should see Mike moving around with this controller. Alright. Let's start the game here. Come on. And there's Mike. Push the both buttons at the same time and he does the super move. It's easier to do when I hold the controller differently. Anyway, it's a little awkward here playing the game like this. I'm also on the side of this PC. Let me grab this other controller now. Now here is Raph. And it's very hard to play this game with one controller. I managed to throw the guy. And that's it. You can see how that works. I'm using a Super Nintendo controller with the Player 2, or Player 1, and the Saturn controller with Player 2. I just dropped the Super Nintendo controller, but it works fine. And etc. You can use any controller in any configuration that you want. If I want, I can have the second player on the N64, the first player on the PlayStation 1 on this adapter, whatever I want to do. I just have to keep the rules of the adapters as I mentioned to you. I can only have up to one controller maximum on this, up to one on this, even though there's 2 ports, one on here, even though there's 3 ports. I could have 4 on here. All 4 ports can be used, in fact. And this one, both ports can be used. So I just have to know what I'm doing with these units, devices, and map them accordingly on the emulator, on the input menu, and I can use any of them in any order that I want. I can play Bomberman and mix and match. I could have Bomberman on an N64 controller with this adapter. I could have, you know, one PlayStation controller here, a Saturn controller here, and a Super Nintendo controller here. I could use all 4 adapters simultaneously. I'm not going to make a video of that, but I have tried. I've tried 3 adapters. I haven't tried all 4, but I don't believe there'll be any problem with it. Maybe I'll make a video. Actually, maybe I'm going to make a video just to show it, and that will be the next video. I'm not going to configure it though on here. I'll just show you the results. So stay tuned for the next video.